Craig Slate.
And I'm Edward Todd.
And you're listening to
The Fresh CrEd. Live from the Global Produce and Floral Show in beautiful Anaheim, California. There's a bazillion windows on this beautiful Anaheim Convention Center where we are.
Palm trees. It's gorgeous out there.
Yeah. Kind of wish I could be out there.
Yeah, but you know what? I would rather be in here with our next guest, a good friend of mine for many years, Mr. Mike Laws. How you doing, Mike?
Gentlemen, great to be here. Very pleased to be here. Had a great show so far, and looking forward to a good chat here.
Yeah, I know. We should have a good time, and I guess you've been in South Texas. How long were you in South Texas?
Well, I worked for Will Steele.
Yeah.
And just take a quick moment to get a little shout out to Will for giving me the kick.
Oh, well, let's don't shout.
Yeah,
do we have to shout anything out? Okay, if we're going to shout anything out to Will, it might be something we can't print. So.
I'm not going there. But I give him a lot of credit for pushing me, giving me the little Texas boot in the butt, and getting involved in this industry in the first place. So every time the opportunity comes up, I kind of like to pat him on the back for that. Yeah.
All right, so that's going to be, so I don't want to, because that is exactly where we want to go with this, but let's hold that thought.
Yes, sir.
Because, first and foremost, look, we really want to thank you and Laws Logistics for, supporting us, supporting the show. These guys are one of our sponsors, really, really generous and appreciative for you. Real quick, Laws Logistics, what you guys got going on, what you up to over there?
Well, Laws Logistics essentially works with a produce growing community to help them in strategic planning. So while your logistics team, and you and I have had this conversation before,
for sure.
While your logistics team is working tactically, they're getting things done, they're delivering stuff, they're filling orders, the strategic part typically isn't addressed.
Right.
And that's what we do. So we work on that 2, 3, and 5 year planning. So when you know what you're going to plant 2 years from now, in talking to your customers what the fulfillment needs to be 2 years or 3 years from now. But in a lot of companies, the logistics part isn't planned concurrent with that. So that's a lot of what we do, is to help companies do that part of it. And then just very briefly, up until the first of this past year, we also had a 3PL operation. We acted as an agent and did some work with a group of customers, and all specific to produce, and provided 3PL services. And in the first of the year, we made an agreement with Sunrise Logistics, based in Ephrata, Pennsylvania, part of the Four Seasons family of companies.
Yep.
Very value-based, high-service company with a much greater portfolio, and they absorbed that business. And that's been a great ride. I really have enjoyed working with them, again now, more on a strategic level. And the fun part about that is I'm not talking in the middle of the night on the phone anymore.
Oh, my goodness.
40 years, fellas, I've been doing this, right?
Wow.
So I got to park that. It was kind of when I got in my 60s, it was an opportunity to take a step back and work on.
There was logistics 40 years ago?
It was the early days. It was the.
Was that before the wheel, maybe? Or
it
after
could be, before the wheel, exactly.
Craig and I remember that.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm not that far off. I remember the wheel, and when it first came out, I was pretty impressed.
Yeah,
we all got excited. I missed the fire invention. I was a few years after fire.
Yeah, well.
So, but no, that's awesome. And then that group, I know the guys at Four Seasons. We work with Sunrise Logistics as well. I mean, that's just a good group of people up there in Ephrata.
Yeah.
So
we're excited about that part of it and what that journey will look like going forward, for sure.
No, for sure, and logistics, and like you said, you and I have had that conversation, and we're a customer of you guys, and I can tell you, you're right. Quite often, that's the part that a lot of us don't look at, and then we regret it when we're in the midst of all that other planning, and we didn't take care of the logistics piece.
Took a lot of people by surprise when COVID came in and the supply chains got disrupted, and they went, "Oh my God, how come we didn't have a plan for this?"
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but
has the truck to load ratio or the capacity overall, is it improved? Is it improving, I guess, from your perspective, or whatever the metric is, right?
It's a loaded question.
Okay.
What you used to be able to a point to be able to predict it, right? So if you want to look at it like a sine curve, it would be these big looping things. There'd be some weather events or whatever, but you knew kind of, particularly with produce, who was planting, what the seasons were. You knew when the capacity was going to get tight and come down again. But like so many other things now, those curves aren't like this. They're like, like it continues to do that because there's so many outside influences that happen. So the truck rates, as you painfully know, Craig, went $6 a mile 18 months ago. People were going, I need a truck, I got to do this. And the truckers went out and ordered a lot of trucks. And then the volume went down. So you're going to see 3PLs, asset-based companies are going to back off a little bit or maybe just decide not to do business anymore. And it's going to happen quickly and it's going to affect it. So right now rates are down, to your question. And I think it's going to stay that for a little bit, but that's also kind of runs side by side with the way the economy is. And we tend to forget that. You know, the economy and the GDP affect the transportation directly.
Fuel pricing for sure, right, as well?
Yeah, that's been a real thing. And sadly, the market's not absorbing the fuel right now. You know, the trucks have to keep moving. Even if they're not making any money, they have to make their payments. They've got to keep moving. That's the only way they make their living, and they're absorbing the fuel costs, and that's going to put some of these small guys out of business pretty quickly.
Do you do much with California-based firms?
A bunch.
Really? Yeah. So as I drove around from LAX here and saw the prices of diesel.
You see a 7?
I drive a diesel vehicle, and I saw a 7.
Yeah.
And it's definitely a lot different in South Texas, and I was very thankful for that because I can't even imagine.
What is South Texas, just out of curiosity?
What do you mean?
Gasoline or diesel prices.
Oh, boy. It was sub $4.
Oh, my God. Seriously?
Yeah.
Wow.
Good to have a refinery in your state.
Well, and a few less taxes.
Yeah. There's certainly that.
Yeah, sure. But no, that's great. I mean, and so you know, I'm gonna make an assumption here. I'm gonna make a leap.
Okay.
Laws, logistics. I would say you're the founder and owner.
Chief Cook and Bottle Washer.
You're the whole bailiwick, right?
So my son, Nick, who is a recent graduate of the University of North Florida and has a degree in transportation and logistics.
Okay.
He's also the smart one in the family, so he's got another degree in economics, which made his mother very happy, right? We have hopes that he will not be talking to truck drivers in the middle of the night the rest of his life. He does work for me as well. Now, he's gainfully employed by a steamship company in the ground transport division. But during college, he did work, and a number of his friends that were taking courses with him did some work. So that's been a lot of fun, is to get that perspective from the university side, what they're being taught fresh out of school, and how can we, here's a project. And a lot of it was grunt work, like RFP stuff.
Yeah.
Stay up in the middle of the night and run mileages, and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But they, there's learning in that.
Yeah.
And I think that they really had a great time doing that part of it. And then I won't go into a lot of names, but I've got people of counsel that, as the work requires, I bring them in to help projects.
Yeah.
And some of them you will know because they're old friends of ours.
Old friends, yeah.
With the emphasis on old, by the way. But it keeps them in touch and involved a little bit, and that's been some fun. So it gives me the flex as the owner of a company to be able to, address a project. So if you come to me and say, hey, Mike, I've got a project and it's this big,
right, and
I need to turn it very quickly, then thankfully we've got
You've got people you can lean into and get out.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but what's interesting is, so let's go back. You were talking about Will and the Texas boot. Okay. So now, you're not originally from Texas?
Oh, no.
No, that's what I thought. So
born in Philly, raised in Chicago.
Yeah. I mean, it sounded a little bit like a North Texas accent, but it's not the North Texas that I know.
Yankees stamped on my butt.
A little further north.
Yeah, a bit further out for sure. Yeah. Well, everybody in Texas that's north of the Red River is a Yankee, so it's just the way it works.
I qualify.
So, no. So you're a young man. Was that your first gig with Will?
Yeah, it was. And at the time, if you recall, it was Frontera Fresh Logistics.
Yeah.
And the trend, particularly during the mid-2000s, was the growers looking to capture that extra margin by bringing the logistics in-house. But if you decide you're going to expand in other directions, how far out of your lane as a produce grower do you want to go?
Right.
And that's where the discussions of the conundrums are. I had a meeting with a rather large brand name grower this weekend that has an operation and question whether or not it made some sense to continue it on for them. So,
gotcha.
But that's what I did with Will, was that I ran the logistics department for him. We built out Fresh Logistics. We did a lot of consolidation because the product line lent itself to that LTL consolidation.
Yep. Yeah.
And it was a great deal. But it ran its course like some of the other things.
So along your journey, right? I mean, that's kind of, for like we've talked, and I kind of repeat this, but it's always good context. The show is really about, folks like yourself, right? You went on a journey, right? You had Will was an influencer,
Clearly,
right?
absolutely.
And, and through that, next thing you know, you're out moving from Texas, moved to Florida, starting your own business. But along the way, I believe you were also a United Leadership grad. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right.
Class 15, rock and roll, baby.
Class 15 for you. And just to remind everybody, I'm class 4.
One.
Yeah, well, I'm close. And, people think I'm joking when I say that you really... The line that you had to go through to get in was far different than the line. The line for me was like, hey, we need you to come serve on this, and can you come serve? And then all of a sudden, you guys are having like 300 and 400 applicants coming in. So
it was pretty competitive, and I got lucky because they didn't see my picture. So if they'd seen that, I'd be out totally. Right?
You're a very handsome man.
The face for radio is what it is, right? But yeah, so that was a great journey. Again, that was Will, who kind of prompted me to get out and get involved and make the application. And I think what I heard afterward was it was based on the strength of the written application and the fact that the logistics community wasn't very well represented inside those groups previously. Right. So I can tell you in no uncertain terms that out of our class of 12 that I have done meaningful business with 10 of them. And that's just awesome. It's an amazing thing. So Jason Hollinger is the president of Four Seasons Produce.
I know Jason.
Who bought company. He's my classmate.
I didn't realize he was a leadership grad.
Same class. I can run the list for you. It's amazing. I'm doing business currently right now with 5 of them.
That's awesome.
So the network opportunity is just I can't speak enough about how supportive it's been for me. And if I've got a problem, anybody in that class I could call at 4:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
And I think the opportunity to for lack of a better term, give back, but it's also, as we get along in our careers, our obligation to help others along, if you will. You mentioned Will. It just dawned on me that he was heading up the grower shipper board, and he, brought me on at one point, and I learned a lot, and serving in other committees and other capacities. So we kind of have that in common. But yeah, looking for opportunities to sort of pay it forward. It's a pretty cool thing.
I feel 100% that way, and a lot of it has to do now, again, at a certain point, that I'm embracing the role as a mentor and working inside Sunrise Logistics with that group of very young people. So I've been told there was a leap of faith I took that you're going to come over and transition your business into this company, and you're going to hand it over to a group of 20-year-olds. They've been amazing. And that opportunity to watch them move, but also to teach a little bit. And I've been working with my son in his class and those things. And now I started 2008 on the Supply Chain and Logistics Council. What year are we now? 2023? Still there. And watching the people go through and the younger group of folks that are coming in and the way that people have now turned to me for advice.
Right.
I will tell everybody that's listening to this is that you can call me anytime about logistics advice, anything you want to talk about, because I feel, to your point, that you have an obligation to give back, and it's also good for the soul.
Yeah,
no question.
It is.
Yeah, no, I would concur with both of you guys on that for sure. And you mentioned the leadership, or we talked about the leadership. I mean, for me, and it sounds like for you too, it's single-handedly probably the best thing for my career was that class.
It's a game changer, and I think the biggest takeaway for me there is that I realized I walked away from an understanding that I was competent.
Yeah.
I was reinforced with the fact that, hey, I got this. I can do this. It grew my confidence. Public speaking, presentation in big and high pressure settings. Think retail, right? Those type of things I just became confident with, and my classmates picked me up when I really wasn't feeling that confident, and it was 50. The whole thing changed after that. So between graduating from that class and starting Laws Logistics was less than a year.
No kidding.
Yes, sir.
I did not realize that. Yeah, I mean, just the relationships by themselves were invaluable. Like, and the people that were in my class, and that I, that number one was by itself great. But yeah, it's just the network that came from that, expanded out of that, and just the things that allowed me to progress forward. Shout out for IFPA, as they let us, as we're part of this, and then they continue to help us out. I will tell you that if you've not applied for the leadership program, I mean, it's a must do.
Even if you have to apply 2 or 3 times.
Oh, for sure.
Go do it.
It's worth the effort.
An experience. And I think also understand that if you're applying, make sure that you know that your company is supporting you, because they're giving you 4 weeks out of a year out of the office, away from your job, to help you develop your career.
Right.
That's huge.
Yeah.
So as you do that as a corporation, as your company does that as a corporation, that's a commitment to the person.
Yeah.
That's really...
No. And like I say, it's awesome to see somebody like you have the success. Again, I've known you since you were that guy with Will back in those days, right? And to go out and take and just leverage that and build a business like you have, and be where you're at in your career. A lot to be proud of, for sure. And, and like I say, a lot that people can take away from that.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here, glad to have the opportunity to talk with you guys about it and to the general public about it. I get that message out a lot. I've been working with a group of people on the floor the last couple of days, and I'll stop and go, Leadership Class 6, Leadership Class 8, Leadership Class 10. I had a conversation with a guy that I know from Leadership Class 1, and I'll talk about giving back. He's running a charity in Africa. He takes 4 months, Bill Cornell. Class 1.
No kidding.
He takes 4 months out of his year every year, and he and his wife have started a charity in Uganda.
Wow.
And they go down. Now that's giving back.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's some serious,
It makes us look pretty bad.
Yeah, I was going to say, we got a way to go here.
Well,
our way of giving back.
Hey, am I too old to apply? Because, I applied years ago, but...
I don't think you're too old. And look, you dye your hair. You dye your hair so it looks like you're younger than you actually are. So that's cool.
Well, I will say I've had the pleasure and honor of serving on several boards and committees, but I think now it might be a little too late for me on the whole leadership.
No, I think
I don't know where that bar is now, because I was the oldest one at the time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I got the good hair gene and the bad back gene, right? So I look pretty good. I look pretty young. They put me in, and I'm with all the rest of these folks. And then when you're done, they automatically put you in for 40 under 40. Mm-hmm. So they sent me the application. I'm like, I just turned 51. I'm sorry.
You did not. You weren't on the...
Yeah, seriously.
You were 51 when you did it?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
See, there I told you.
I have hope.
You still have hope.
I just turned 50.
Oh, it's no problem. Actually, there was a guy in the following class, in class 16, who was a year older than I was. Now, they may have revised that at that point in time. I looked at the last group, and they're fairly young. But you'll fit right in, man. You look good, man. You can go.
Hey, appreciate it. See, somebody has some nice things to say about that.
Hey, so you do look good.
Thank you.
So let's touch a little bit on that. You got this serious workout regimen that you do.
I do.
You got a food plan. What kind of stuff?
Thanks for asking. Yeah, I do. So I've got, again, as I said before, the good hair and the bad back gene.
Yeah.
So I've got a degenerative disc. I'd be very careful how I say that. Right?
Yeah.
And as a result, I dropped 30 pounds. So if you remember me when I was working for Will, and you look at me now, it's about 30 pounds difference there. And that's mostly around...
That was probably 30 pounds of stress.
Maybe in some liquid in there too, but we're not going to go there, right? But yeah, it's a lot of it just had to do with understanding that through and medication. Then,
yeah.
So when the first thing in the mid 2000s, they're handing you medication and going, here you go, and it'll get better. And what it did do is just make me drag. So I got rid of all the medication in the system, starting stretching and exercises, low impact things.
Right.
I'm a spin class nut now.
All right, nice.
5:30, 3 days a week out there at the spin class.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
You strike me as a spin guy.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily the best thing for my back, but I still feel good doing it. It gets the endorphins up in the morning.
But that's bike. I mean, it's on a bike, right? That's a spin class. That's not. That's bad on your back, though?
We have this screaming woman that runs this class in the morning, and she gets up in your face and get up and let's go, and it's really the most fun to get out and get doing that. I can walk out of that place in the morning and look at people and know that I've done more by 6:30 than they're going to do all day. And
that's awesome.
That feels really
And you
good,
do that 6 days a week?
No, I do it 3 mornings a week, and then I work with a trainer a couple days a week.
Very cool.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're.
But you go somewhere for the class, or do you have your own bike?
It's all, so I live in Naples, and so the home of the newlywed and nearly dead, and so there's a lot of resources there. There's a lot of resources there for folks from a health standpoint. So this is actually run by the hospital. The wellness center is run by the hospital. It's 6 blocks from the house. And it's a really easy fit. Roll out of bed before I have a chance to think about it and just go.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's worked out real well.
Do you road ride as well?
No. No, and I don't run either. If you see me running, it means I got to go to the bathroom.
There's a problem.
All right, so diet. So you got medication out.
Yep.
Obviously, a consistent workout program.
Yep.
Food-wise, make any food changes?
Yeah, plenty. And so a lot of it had to do with portion sizes in our family. We had my children were all living at home. There's a 10-year gap between my kids, and the college students are rotating through, and my 5-year-old son is there, and we're trying to balance all of this stuff. So we just put up big plates of food and stick it out there. Now, thankfully, that everybody's off the payroll and out of the house. Kim and I can control that a little bit better together.
Right.
So we've got portion control, and we've been doing that for 5 or 6 years. I'm a salad guy every day at lunch, like religion.
Okay.
And I'm a 50% plate guy. I mean, I love my veggies, and we're roasting vegetables and trying new spice mixes up with them and all of that, and getting creative. Just having a great time.
Yeah. And like I say, that's the thing, probably what you're talking about there, which for me, I'm a big believer is, if you can get out of them, even when you've got a serious health issue, right? That's, hereditary. I don't know, maybe you were a boxer or something in the day. I don't know. You hurt your back, but you're taking matters into your own hands. Right, you're moving the medication out and trying to figure out how do I at least make an attempt, not just to lean into the meds.
100%, and I think that how many times you get hit upside the head before you realize I got to do something different? Right?
Well, yeah,
I couldn't take another headshot, honestly, so that I had to make a change there. I had to.
But you're talking about not overeating, right?
I'm talking about not overeating. I'm talking about finding something to substitute the medication,
and that's huge. I mean, I've practiced some discipline we've talked about on the show, but really at the end of the day, I'm not a very disciplined person. But I can honestly say since I started paying attention maybe 4 years ago, I can count on one hand the amount of times I've overeaten to where I feel miserable, uncomfortable. And it used to be just a regular thing, right? I mean, I have a joke at home. This is just a meal. There'll be another one, in a few hours. Like, it's not that big of a deal.
Right.
So it's just a mindset.
How do you balance that, though, with our industry and the celebration of food and what we've learned traditionally from our families over the years? That was the event.
Yeah.
So how do you, that's the key, is to try to continue that tradition, but do it in a healthier way. And I'm feeling really good about what we're doing in our family with that, in terms of how we put the plates together, how all of that balances, but to still make it a celebration.
Yeah.
And of course, we throw some wine in too. So.
Oh, yeah.
Example, I was telling Greg for
that's my kind of health regimen.
Thanksgivings, a few years ago, we agreed at our house that we would throw out all the old casseroles and all that stuff and just veg. Like, it's not sweet potato casserole, it's sweet potatoes. And it's not...
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, no, it's not green bean casserole, it's roasted green beans. It's, so just no casserole.
So the sweet potato, so that's one of those things. This is what I don't understand, and it comes from where I grew up, right, in Texas. We would take anything that was healthy and make sure it became unhealthy as fast as we could,
make
right?
It fun. They want to make it
put
fun.
Put bacon on it, right?
Well, not just bacon. We'd put sugar, make it, sweet potato. I mean, it's like, what's wrong with the sweet potato? It's sweet, right? Why do you need also the sugar and the brown sugar and this? It's like,
That's right.
It's fabulous. And we did that with, again, like he's talking about, you can change that up, right? You can make it much more healthy.
Clearly.
Or not make it more healthy. Just staying closer to the basics, it's much more healthy and you enjoy it. It's great.
Well, and you make a great point about that, because it is basic. And I think that if you've had the opportunity to travel abroad and all, and you realize what their diets look like and how basic it really is, and they're still celebrating food in a really big way.
Yeah.
These guys eat 4 or 5 times a day. They look great. They live to be 95 years old. They have wine at every meal.
Yeah, I know.
It's not so bad. Right?
I hope my wife's listening, because I'm continuing
one
trying to convince
or
her.
two, not bottles.
Bottles. Yeah, no, it's not bottles.
Well, look, the timekeeper is
Giving us the
high sign, and we're getting.
I feel like we just scratched the surface, though. So we're gonna have to maybe come to Naples and do a remote broadcast in
February.
Is that the time to be there?
Extension cord long enough to reach out onto the beach, maybe, Mason. We can look at something like that. That'd be good.
Oh, cool. What about a golf course? Is there any of those around there?
Yeah,
there's no golf there.
More per capita than any place else in the country.
Wow.
Yeah, so definitely putting a little Naples action on the tour list.
Yeah,
we're building a Fresh CrEd tour, by the way. So
nice.
yeah, we're just trying to
and everything.
spots. Yeah, we've got the orchards over in just north of LA with Limonera. Then we're going to pop over to Spain and. Yeah, and then come back through Naples.
Good got, man.
Yeah, right now it's working out. So, hey, Mike, seriously, really appreciate the sponsorship.
Pleasure to be here, guys.
Appreciate your friendship, and appreciate you joining us on the show.
Your partnership. Thank you.
Happy to do it. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Mike.
Enjoy the rest of the expo. Enjoy yourself.